deep technical knowledge and we have a lot of broad business knowledge. And our approach is to try to bring those things together.
There's like the HR talent experience team, and then there's the IT team, and they're always butting heads like this. Prime for siloed people, cliques, and people talking around each other, and there being rumors, so it doesn't feel like a cohesive team a lot of the time.
The team that's focused solely on traditional IT is not positioned well to help with how technology could be more strategically used in the business, right? They care about desktop support and making sure that the network is secure.
Giving them a tool doesn't make someone successful. Being able to use that tool to solve a business problem is what makes them successful.
Where we tend to focus is kind of that layer above, where we try to take all of those technology and those tools that you have as an organization and help you leverage them at that business user level so that you're effectively accomplishing your mission in the most efficient way possible.
Because you want every employee, from a person who's managing an office all the way to somebody out in the field or even executive level, you want all of them to be working together.
How do we optimize them? How do we bring them into a technology world where it can do things for us instead of relying on a manual process?
What I care about is that you have the right tool for the job. And so to that end, we're gonna evaluate that and tell you, no, don't do it with that tool. If you're able to use technology more effectively, the people that are supposed to be focused on the mission of the organization can actually do more missional things because the tech is handling the rest.
Having a successful outcome of the project, there's no question that we're gonna do everything we can to make that happen. We set ourselves up as an organization that is our focus, that's our guiding light. And so it pervades everything we do. Bulb Digital helps organizations transform their business using technology.
We help businesses use technology better so that their people work better together. There we go. Sorry about that, everybody. We realized we were on the Teams meeting. We were muted, but on YouTube you were hearing us. Welcome to Office Hours. This is what we do once a month, the first Wednesday of every month. We're excited to just open our doors and say, hello, how are things going? Check in on your world and try to get you unstuck on anything that you might be stuck on. So the prompt here is, if there are things you're working on that you need help with that we might be able to kind of steer you in the right direction, drop those in chat. We're streaming to both Teams and YouTube. So those of you who are on the Teams meeting, you're welcome. If you want to come off mute, you can raise your hand and we can allow that. But if you're on the YouTube side, then you can just chat with us and we'll pick things up there. So I thought we would start our office hours a little bit different this month. What you guys don't know is Matt Dressel is actually a very good singer, so we thought we would do some Christmas carols.
Let's do some karaoke.
Christmas carols. So let's just give people a couple minutes demo of your voice, and I think that'll set the tone for the meeting.
It'll be very quiet.
Yeah. So, no, I'm just kidding. My other joke was going to be, this is sponsored by Ricola, who doesn't actually pay us. They're just keeping my voice in check because stuff's going around, everybody. So if I have a coughing fit, I apologize in advance. And Cam's got his finger on the mute button for me. So with that said, who's got questions? What are you working on? We're coming up on the end of the year. What are things that you're either keeping an eye on or working on in your day-to-day that you might be able to use some direction? And Craig wants Matt to sing, so he's showing us some emojis. Let me check. I actually didn't look if we got any in.
If Cam puts us on mute, I can sing. That's no problem.
Cam, put us on mute. Let me look here.
I don't think we got any. I was just looking at it.
Yeah, so we have, it's a weird sequence of events here because we just did our 50th episode of our podcast last couple weeks ago. And so that was our last we went through a bunch of questions that people submitted, and things have slowed down a little bit since then.
It's also the holidays.
Everybody's getting in the holiday mood, so not as much going on in that world. Let me double check though.
If we don't have any questions, I have some topics that we could talk about.
There was one late October. I don't know if maybe we talked about this. Yeah, I think you guys talked about it last time. We were also out of town last office hours, so I think we were like in the airport monitoring and stuff like that.
We were.
That was fun. Fun fact about that trip, we were in Atlanta to visit a client's conference, and one of the first things that happened in the hotel lobby, Matt and I were sitting there, and someone walked up and recognized us and said, "Hey, thanks for your podcast. I'm a listener, and I love listening, so I thought I would come say hello." And that was a little bit surreal. That was the first time someone who we didn't loosely know recognized us. So that was a fun one. Yeah, what's going on? Where's everyone joining from? What's the weather like? Let's get Terry says that's awesome. What's everybody working on? And like Matt said, he can fill.
We can fill. I can
fill
some
the time if we need to, but we've got a couple of people on the team side, a couple on the YouTube side. What's going on? What's preventing you from getting to your goals? Do you need help setting goals? Yeah, all those good things. Got a couple of people typing. Cam, I'm looking around, and I'm admiring. We did a little studio cleanup, you guys. There's what you don't see over here is stuff. Like all of this, like making this work requires equipment and things, and it's all like neatly organized and everything right now. So it's easy for it to get a little out of hand. There's also, if anything happened during Ignite that you're wondering about, like that's obviously new to everybody. There might be topics in there that we could talk about too. We got people typing furiously right now. Like I said, if it makes sense to come off mute too, we can do that. Cherry says, no real problems right now. We're just implementing Teams with our department, and we're working on getting people moving stuff over there. And I've returned from vacation, so definitely have vacation brain. Yeah, it's become easier and easier to just, let's not have that meeting today. Let's have it next week and push things. And yeah, glad to hear you're moving forward with Teams. One thing that's interesting that there's nothing wrong with doing it this way, but I've seen quite a few people capitalize all the letters of Teams. Do you know where that comes from? Mm-hmm. Is that just like it is one way to differentiate it from the normal word of Teams, but it's it's not like official or anything, but I've seen it a couple times. Teams and Teams, yeah, right, Tanya.
Teams says, and teams and teams and teams. Like what
a group has a team.
A group has a team with a team.
Yeah.
In teams, for teams.
Yeah, Tanya. Like I get, like it's a way to differentiate. I don't know where it comes from. Snow in South Dakota working on master client info file. Would prefer SharePoint lists and Power App, but Excel and ShareFile are what I have to work with. Oh, that's a fun one. Everything is in Excel. Orlando is 72 clear. What a drastic. We tried to live the like slightly more tropical life, and we went and got tacos for lunch, but we walked through freezing rain to get there.
It's the best idea we've ever had.
For some reason. So like good food was bookended by a cold walk, and it was somebody's idea to walk there. I don't know who's.
We won't say who. Don't need to say who.
Just helped another group manage their SharePoint permissions, applying restricted access via breaking inheritance. No breaking inheritance. That's a no-no. Matt, he could. Never mind. He could talk for a long time about breaking inheritance. Do you apply database normalization to your SharePoint lists?
Oh, no, not usually, no. No. It's one of the things that SharePoint is not good at is relationships, and trying to normalize and bring stuff into separate tables, or in this case lists, and then making relationships. Lookup columns are notoriously not great. So no, we don't. The moment you get into a situation where you're like, oh, I need all of that, we tend to go to a real database, Dataverse or something else. Have we done it? Yes.
Yeah.
Would I do it again if I'm required? Probably.
For people not in the know, database normalization would be like, instead of just having someone's email here, let's capitalize all the letters. So when we're looking it up, we're always looking by uppercase, so it will always match no matter what. And like you normalize the fields to make up for maybe some of the failings of I want it to be case insensitive, and some systems can't handle that well. Oh, she says that's standardization.
Yes, normalization is not duplicating stuff. Yeah. So normalization is the concept that instead of having a table that has,
why do I have some
first name, last
fields
name
that are called normalized username in my?
Because there's multiple ways the terms they can use. In her context, she's using it in database schema schema normalization.
Gotcha.
You're talking about like user input can be uppercase, lowercase, etc. That can cause problems with searching, because when you search for data, some systems are case sensitive, some systems are case insensitive, and so what Mitch is talking about is you can normalize the data coming in. It's another term that could be used for it. Some people would just call it like all like uppercase or lowercase, so cased version.
Tanya says both are important, and like 10 exclamation marks.
They are both important. But she's talking about basically saying, if I've got a table, like an order table, and that order table needs to have a customer name, well, I might have 7 orders with a customer name. Isn't it better to have a separate table or a separate list with customers that would have their name, their et cetera, so that you're only updating the data once instead of having to update it on every single order? We can get into lots of reasons why you would do one over the other.
Let's go really deep into that.
We're not going to. But the key here is that in SharePoint in particular, lookup columns, which is how you would really make related table or lists related, they kind of suck. So even when I do normalize something, I don't actually normalize it. What I would do is actually have a column that just has the ID of the table, but it wouldn't be a lookup column. It would just be a number field with an ID, or a text field with the GUID, or something like that.
Craig says, I proposed, they were talking about the permission breaking inheritance stuff. I proposed an alternate file/folder structure to simplify permissions based on role, but they insisted to have folder categories respected over respect for roles and permissions.
Yeah, it's silliness. Yeah, so the breaking inheritance situation, like it is what it is. You can only do that so much. When you start to teach people about breaking inheritance, it can be problematic. The one thing I was going to mention, actually, before Craig, you mentioned this, one of the things I was going to talk about, or when I said I could fill space, would be, I don't know that we've really spent a lot of time talking about it, but we do have a suggested practice and standard for when you create SharePoint sites, or even a team, to try to help with problems related to what you're talking about, Craig. Not so much in making it easier to not have to break inheritance or whatever, but to protect people from mistakenly breaking inheritance. If you've ever used Teams and clicked the share button when what you really want to do is create or send someone a link to something, you're breaking inheritance, and that is problematic. So what we usually do as our standard is when you create a SharePoint site or a team, there's settings that you can set on the SharePoint site that say, don't allow people to request access to the SharePoint site. And we recommend having that enabled. And only allow owners to share files. Those two settings can do a lot to protect your data from having all sorts of permissions problems. And the reason being is that, like I was just describing, anyone who is trying to share a link with people oftentimes will click the share button because that's what Microsoft puts right in front of users' faces, but that actually creates a sharing link. It doesn't actually, so it creates a brand new link that is a sharing link instead of just getting you a link to the file that you can share with someone else that already has access. And doing that breaks inheritance on that particular file. And the second is that when you request access to a site, and that being requested access is to a file, not to the site itself, you're actually, if you approve that request, so if you're an owner and you've ever seen it, it's like, oh, somebody doesn't have access to the thing. And it's very common for people like, oh, grant access. Yeah, they should have access to that. Well, if you're doing that and the person was looking at a file, you now have just broken permissions and added that one individual to that permissions of that file. Instead, what you should be doing as an owner going, oh, okay, you need access. I'm going to go into the site and I'm going to actually add you as a user to the site or to the team or whatever that might be that you need access to, instead of just approving this one-off permission. And even in your case, Craig, in your case where you're like, you have a folder structure and you've broken inheritance at a folder level, you would still want to do that so that you go, oh, I don't want to grant them access to this file. I want to grant them access to a folder or to whatever that might be to give them the appropriate permissions. So it's kind of related, but it's something we haven't really spent a lot of time talking about, but it is something we pretty much recommend to every customer that we work with. And I've posted to Microsoft saying I think they should do something like that for everyone as the default. But of course, they're looking for making it super easy so people can just
no critical thinking involved.
Yeah, you don't need to think about your data. Wherever it lands, AI will just help make it right. Yeah, it'll be okay.
Just share it.
It'll be okay.
Crystal, welcome. It's his first time here. Hopefully I'm muted. I just called out. Yeah. Anyone on the Teams meeting is welcome to raise your hand and then
come off mute.
Mute. But everyone's muted by default. How's the YouTube side of things? How's YouTube world? Anybody out there working on anything, curious about anything in the Microsoft space? Let's see. I think we covered everything that everyone has posted so far. But yeah, just to set the stage, if you're just jumping on, this is office hours. We do it once a month. We try to make it super easy, approachable, low barrier of entry, so you can just come on here and ask any questions that you might be stuck on, and we can chat about it and use as much as this hour allows, and we can help folks as much as possible. So you're welcome to drop any questions in chat. As Craig says, this will be an empirical case for them. Once it becomes evident this was going to lead to problems, this will be reevaluated. They required restricted permissions on subfolders while upper levels allowed more users access. The customer is always right until they aren't. Yeah, it's a fun mantra right there. The customer, I have part of our value is telling people their baby's ugly without being offensive. I think that's part of our art that we attempt to.
I mean, it's interesting. If you didn't know, Mitch is a Mac lover, and I think he subscribes to the Steve Jobs mantra of they don't know what they don't know, so I'm going to give them what they need. what I think they need, not what they're asking for. But for us, we spend a lot of time talking about the journey and recognizing that it's a journey, and it may not be right today, and it may not be right the next step that you take, but that's okay. When you talk about being nice, that's really what it's about, is being real with it, which is that it takes a lot of work to move to where you need to be, and it takes time. And we talk about it all the time, that this is a skill that is an individual skill felt at the organization level. People have to learn. Much like what Craig, you were saying, they're gonna use it and have challenges and come back and say, hey, how do I solve this challenge? And you may say, well, you need to stop doing the way that you're doing it and do it this other way. So just the way it is. It's part of the process. And that's okay.
In part of the dichotomy there is you only want to change things up on people every once in a while because they don't like change. And so you might as well do it right the first time. That's the tension that is felt. And it's hard to know how hard to push that sometimes, instead of just say it's good enough. Like they may be just fine. Like Craig, they don't call it change, call it growth. Yeah, it's fun wordplay, but that's like me calling problems opportunities. I'm not saying I don't do that. Like I definitely do that. But yeah, growth is an interesting one. Give it the positive spin. Yeah, I'm all about it.
I mean, there's lots of people who create all sorts of complex permissions and they're just fine with it. A lot of times what happens when people the big area where people have challenges is when people leave, when people don't understand the system that they built. And that's when having a little bit more generic, a little bit more out of the box, a little bit more would be beneficial a lot of times, but that's okay. Yeah. That's okay. So
I was just going to go to Crystal's.
Yeah.
She says, I'm beginning to get my small business into M365, enjoying your trainings and videos. Yeah. Plug our foundations course. Crystal says she's enjoying it. I remember seeing her in there. A newbie for sure. I'm attempting to be as HIPAA aligned as I can. Do you address that at all?
So we don't. So we have worked in HIPAA regulated industries, and for companies that have to align to that. We don't have modules that address it, primarily because those regulations are written largely devoid of specific technological requirements. They have rules that you need to adhere to, but how you adhere to them is largely up to you. And it's not super, it's not like, oh, you do these 5 things and you can guarantee that you're HIPAA compliant. Mostly because it's as much about the process and about the human end of it as it is about the technology. The technology can only help so much. The technology in many ways is as a guardrail. People were HIPAA compliant before many of the tools we have. And they did that by having locked doors and only people who access specific, drawers, et cetera, that are only, people only have the keys for the drawers that are supposed to have access to the drawers, and, all of those types of things. So, we don't have anything specific that says, oh, do this and do this and do this, and you'll be HIPAA compliant. But if you have any specific questions or concerns about, hey, I need to be able to address this, we'd be happy to answer that. I would also say that Microsoft's different levels of licensing, the closer you get to E5, there are even more tools that will do things like monitor for people who have PII that are being exfiltrated or being stored inappropriately, et cetera, et cetera. But
I've heard you talk to someone else about this, I think, and you basically say the Microsoft tools allow you to be HIPAA compliant.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt, like there's security everywhere in them, but it's up to you to ensure that the systems you are building in that context follow what you need to follow in order to be HIPAA compliant.
Yep.
So it's not like there's some checkbox on the Microsoft side that says this it needs to be HIPAA compliant. It's more you can lock things down however aligns with HIPAA compliance.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's all about how you are implementing it more than the core technology. The core technology is absolutely compliant, even beyond basic HIPAA, high tech, all of that kind of stuff. So.
Craig says HIPAA is a list of policy statements. Follow the policy and you're in effect compliant. It's not procedural. That's left up to the groups to determine.
Yep.
Crystal says, I get that it is up to us and the people in the company, just trying to be intentional as I build. Thanks for talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would tell you is, like, for example, what I was just talking about when you set up SharePoint sites, how I described it will help enable you to be ensure that you are, right? Not randomly having a sharing link that can be sent to anybody in the organization, right? There are a ton of settings because the defaults from Microsoft are definitely not, don't help you in regards to trying to make sure you're that way. But there's so many, and they're so unique to the situation in the business that people are in, that there's no way for us to say, hey, these are the steps that you can take. But there's definitely some pointers we can give for that.
She's doing her best to be on top of it. Love it.
It's hard to be, yeah.
Yep.
Especially in a small business. Yep.
No problem. Well, we're about at the halfway point, so I'll just reset and say, welcome to Office Hours. We're happy to this. My name's. I didn't introduce. We didn't
Either
say
of
hello.
us, yeah.
My name is Mitch, and this is Matt. We're both partners here, helping folks every day. Every day, make the most of their Microsoft tools. And the phrase we've been using lately is, don't just pay for them, put them to work. And that's what we are all about when we come to work. Craig says, sing, Matt, sing. Because I told everybody that Matt can sing, and we were going to do some Christmas carols today. That should be our team outing this quarter.
Christmas caroling?
Yeah, go down the hall, just start singing, wait for them to open their door.
That's an interesting idea. We'll see what everybody thinks about that. I imagine the rest of the team might have the similar reaction to me.
I don't know. We got a couple firecrackers that might make the most of it, wear costumes and like
auto-tune allowed.
Yeah, Cam, you got auto-tune on that board, right?
Let's make that happen.
Yeah. What's everybody else working on? Are there anything, when you think about, like, I'm gonna dream a little bit, or so, like try to get us into the mind space of thinking about these things. If you are thinking about your goals for next year, or some place that you're trying to get to, and you're trying to say, if I looked back this time next year and everything that I want to accomplish has been done, what does that look like, and what is preventing you from getting there? And obviously, like in the business world, a lot of things can intertwine and not necessarily be applicable to Microsoft 365, but there's a lot of related aspects in there where that's like our whole game when we get into customer engagements, is saying, what are your goals and how do the tools map to those goals? And so it's the space that we spend a lot of time in. Crystal says, also wondering about using this all to manage my 40 clients part by part. Do you suggest 40 channels in one team? That is my small company, then planner in the channel for each client.
We would usually not. We would say create a new team for all of those customers, primarily because then as a customer offboards, you can kind of have that content move away, especially in that HIPAA scenario. You can ensure if you have multiple, if you do have 3 or 4 or 5 people, or if you need to maybe add a new person, they won't get access to everything necessarily. You can add them to just 1 or 2 of them. It is a maintenance challenge in regards to, you have to manage each of those teams. But especially with the new way Teams manages channels, your channels, you can basically abstract the team part. So you could just have a channel per, or a row, if you will, per team, rather than having what the traditional is, which is, a team and then a channel beneath it. I would definitely look into that type of approach. Even with just your people, Crystal, like you mentioned, you won't have clients in there just yet, which that's totally fine. But having your people working in those separate spaces, assuming that, for example, in our, we're only a 10-person company, but we don't want everybody in the company having access to all of our customers' data. Only if you're working on a particular project should you have access to that. And the best way to manage that is to have separate teams that have has that data.
That said, like, technically speaking, what she's saying would work, right? Like,
and there's a lot of people who do it.
If there's not a
security concern.
Yeah. If everybody's kind of just in the mix with each other, then sure, have them all on the same team and split up at channels, and that can work. There's 3 of us. So, yeah, I mean, we're 10 people. And so there's like teams of 4 or 5 on different things, and we don't have as much, like, we have some crossover, but in that case, the only like nuance to that is if you're saying there's 3 of us right now, but there's going to be 6 within the next year.
That was going to be my comment,
like, think twice.
The longer term approach is separate teams. Like, that sets you up for any future outcome. Setting it with 1 team and 45 customers or 40 customers is a little bit limiting when you get to the next level. Good question, though. Very good question. We get that question a lot. It's really interesting because we there's lots of different benefits to having separate teams. So, for example, your planners are completely in separate teams, and like there's a bunch of stuff, but it is extra work. We're at the point where the extra work, quote unquote, is like it's
muscle memory.
It is what it is. It's what you need to do.
Yeah, it's so part of our assumption of when we're saying we're going to do a client.
Yep.
There's some setup involved. People are saying future-proof, think growth.
Yep.
Craig says compartmentalization. It's a $5 word, so we got to include that somewhere else. How do you guys, I'm starting to we're starting to talk about what we need to develop next and how we need to, what other products we could build and things like that. And one of the focuses is on, or potential focuses is on external collaboration. I'm interested, Matt, you're responding to we're just talking. He's gonna start answering questions in chat while I'm talking to chat. Then we're having 2 different conversations going on.
No, I was just gonna review it in the future. I was letting you talk.
What do you say? Yeah, it's related to, will each client have their own SharePoint and can see the big picture? How do you think about external collaboration? Because I know in some cases we have invited the client to the team and then created a private channel just for our team to be members of. We've also made a team that the client is not part of and create a shared channel from their tenant to our tenant. And that has worked pretty well, has different nuanced pros and cons, but is there a magic bullet anywhere?
Teams, Microsoft 365, external guest access is not great. And most of that relates to the enhanced security permissions, like all of that kind of stuff that comes with it, right?
Yeah.
All the compliance ends of it. Because of that, it's a challenge. We choose one of 3 options, depending on the customer, what we're doing, et cetera. One is we share a particular folder. The benefit of that is that you don't have to have an invitation. They don't have to be a guest user in your system. You can just invite them, send them a link to it, and go, right? It's super easy for people to get access, but you don't have chat, and you don't have, and they have to.
There's no collaboration.
There's, I mean, there is.
You could co-edit documents.
You can co-edit documents, but it's not the same kind of integration that you get from the other 2 options. One being,
I want to slow that down one step. So that means you create, I wish I had like a whiteboard that could show it. You have your team, and you have the shared now tab, used to be the files tab in there, and you have different folders. We always set up it's 05 - client deliverables.
Yep.
And that one is the one
That's
that we
the one
share
we get shared. Yep.
with. So whenever we have a document that we need to share, we just dump it in there, and there's no recreating of sharing links or anything like that. It's saying it's in the shared folder.
And in that particular case for us, we have another folder where we're doing our work on that. And that's for the example, that might be the PowerPoint or the Word document that we're generating. And then when we create a PDF, the PDF is what goes into client documents.
Right.
Or if they need to upload something, they go there. Or if we put a meeting recordings, they all go there. Yeah. That is that's the one-stop shop for our customers to see things from us. So that's one way. The other ways are really variations of using Teams the way Teams is intended to be used, which is either having the customer in our tenant in a team or having us in their tenant in a team. We have the best success when we are in their team, mostly because we know the tools really, really well, and we can make the mental bridge and some of the challenges related to that. When somebody invites us, we know, we have 24 hours to accept the invite. We better accept it. We know, they need MFA. They require MFA. I need to set up a new MFA, and that's okay. It's just another MFA. We know those things. When we ask customers to be part of ours, it can be challenging. So that is a little bit of it's just a challenge in that regard. So doing external sharing is definitely a bit of a challenge, and the real question is how integrated you want that to be. Mm-hmm. We'd like it to be as integrated as we can.
I was talking to a lead the other day about this. The hardest part is when you're in some middle ground of collaboration where, as far as like maybe communication goes, where email would be annoying, you're doing a little bit too much of it, but it happens so spread out that it's not worth setting up the infrastructure for a team and getting them into the team or like doing that integration, the extra friction work. And so you're caught in this spot where it's other tools, you can just send a link and they click it and they're in, and there's no, but that's not HIPAA compliant. Like that's not.
Well, you just created another account with its own, a lot of times with its own password. And now what does that mean? And how do you manage, there's just lots of challenges related to that. For us, if we're primarily doing stuff via meetings, we'll do the first option. Like a lot of our customers, when we first start with them, we just create a link to that folder. When we get into doing 2, 3, 4 projects with a customer over 6 months, that's when we start to try to come up with alternatives.
This is fun. Hopefully Crystal's still tracking with us. The chat is on to a different conversation, you guys. Hey,
I'm not allowed to
go for it, you guys.
To have that though.
No, you can. I'm saying don't type in chat. The premise, the one that started the conversation was Terry. She said, so I have this conversation with my team this morning, future-proofing things. One challenge we have with this approach right now is that we aren't sure what the future will be. We have a project going on at work right now about determining our needs around a CRM. what tool we may use, etc. So how do we future-proof when the idea of the future is so undefined, even in an 18 to 24-month time frame?
I think the real challenge becomes in a lot of organizations the effort. Like, you know, sometimes you can't request a team. You have to go through a process, and somebody has to approve it, or you don't know what the team should be named, and like there's lots of barriers to it. But I always am like, just create a new team for a thing that you need. Like obviously you can go too far. Some people have been like, I'm not going to create channels. I'm just going to create teams over and over and over again. And I'm like, no, don't do that. It's okay to have different topics within a team. But generally speaking, I think a lot of people err too much on the side of I'm just going to create more channels. Or they're going to create private channels or shared channels, and they have their own challenges. But
how do they, like, I feel like that's on the team side when they're thinking about, we actually had a whole podcast about, like, do you choose something off the shelf or do you build it yourself? And not knowing the future is definitely tricky. I'll tell you, we never know the future. Like, I don't mean to get philosophical, but we have however much work in front of us. We don't know what comes after that.
We start a project with a customer, and we have no guarantee that they're going to do a follow-on project
we have
with us,
systems that will help us continue on afterwards, but
and we've had to rework. We've had to rework teams after the fact and say, okay, well, now we have 2 work streams or 3 work streams. We need to adjust what we're doing to better reflect that because we have different groups working on different things.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
So it's all about managing risk, and the thing that, like, I thought when you were asking this question, you were thinking about not as much as this business going to exist in 2 years, but like, am I going to be here in 2 years? Is someone else going to be in this position? And I think either way, I would encourage you to think about it from the infinite game perspective. Like Simon Sinek talks about, there's no winning business. There's no start and end where you've done it and now you're done with business. It's an infinite game. You just play a finite part in that business's life cycle. Obviously, some businesses start and end and things like that, but there's no 100-yard line that you're trying to get. Or
in most of the businesses that we work with, we're beyond the scenario where someone designs a wrench and that wrench is going to be produced for the next 50 years and not really change. Everything is changing. Everything is moving.
Yeah.
Everything is.
She's clarifying. Future-proofing. It's more of, we don't know what tool we will have, so how much work do we want to do now to make it easier with the long term in mind? But knowing that a major project is on the horizon and may interrupt/change what we have done.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That is.
We've had clients in that situation.
We've been in that situation where, we have that conversation all the time. And I would go back to what we've said before, which is do just enough, right? I would not try to architect it for an end game. But I think in the context of teams, in the context of SharePoint, it's actually relatively simple, right? Creating small pockets that you can reorganize is going to work out better for you in the long run. It just is. There's no question about it. Rather than one monolithic thing that you then have to move in the future. But when you think about, in your case, when you're talking about a CRM, et cetera, and you think about how much integration, what's the value? What are you getting out of that? And it's really a challenge. There was another comment about shared channels and private channels and stuff. And I think Tanya had said, if you're thinking about doing them, you may need to rethink what you're doing. And I agree with that. I'm very interested to see what happens. Microsoft has made some improvements to the limitations to those particular features. I don't think they're gonna fix my main problems. Like, I think it's just too hard of a technical problem right now. But if they would, I would love to use them. Like I think the concept of having shared and private channels is amazing. The reality of them is underwhelming at best.
Slack does it just fine.
I mean, it doesn't have the same
I'm poking.
baggage
I'm poking. I know. Yeah.
at all.
Agreed. Yeah. I. It's so funny coming from a developer world. When I look at these tools and I'm like, can it just do this? I'm like, show me the code. I will make it do just that. And I don't think about the fact that, like, I never have to worry about a server really, or the fact that it's a computer with a hard drive, and there's so much behind all of that they are legally bound to managing well that.
Well, and they
I just don't even think about.
They also have. People don't realize all the benefits that you get because Teams is built on SharePoint, but because Teams is built in SharePoint, you have a bunch of baggage, right? Slack in particular, you can think of it like a big bucket of files, and everything just goes in one big bucket of files, all behind the scenes, right? And it's terrible because you end up with multiple versions of the file and all the problems that everybody is worried about forever and ever, and that Teams solves. But in doing so, you have problems like Planner and all of these things just don't work the same. Yeah. But I've heard grumblings that I think they have designs and ideas about how they could make it better. If they do, I think it would be phenomenal because I think it's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest gaps that Teams. It's so confusing when people go, "Oh, I want to create a channel." Oh yeah, I want a private channel. That makes a lot of sense. But no, you probably don't.
I don't want other people to see my channel. I want it to be private.
Well, the most common scenario is, we have a big project team, but I have the leadership team for that project or for that group, and I want a separate channel for that. That's one of the classic reasons for it. But when you do that, and then you were like, oh, I want a planner board, or I want a loop workspace, or I want a whatever, and it's like, oh, well, that doesn't quite work how you think it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. It's a problem. It's a challenge. I understand why they built it the way. I understand all the technical, like you were saying, the code. I know why they have the problem. I don't care. I want them to fix it.
Exactly.
So
it's easy from the outside looking in we know exactly what Microsoft needs to do, and if they could just do that, that would be great. It's very easy to say. Tanya says yes to underwhelming. Terry says, I love that phrase, just enough. Yeah, you'll hear Matt often use, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, enough, good, or good enough. Yeah, either one of those two. Terry says, can I add that? Add to that list for Microsoft's task list? Maybe.
I mean,
I feel like a broken record a lot of the times because I'm talking to different parts of the same product group that I'm like, how have you guys not?
I encourage everyone to give feedback. That's what I'll tell you.
They definitely
listen to when in app, when you have the plus sign or the thumbs up or the thumbs down, or you have a prompt for a survey, take it, do it. They are listening to it.
There's nuance around that. I think their systems are set up to be heavily biased by those inputs.
Correct.
Or they are being told to be biased by those
Correct.
Inputs. So them listening does not equate to, if you put it in there, they're going to fix it. It's that is what they, theoretically speaking, should be prioritizing versus.
If enough people are saying it.
Yes.
But going on Twitter or going on X or whatever and making a social post, it doesn't have the same weight.
Sometimes social
voice
can get some momentum though.
It can get some momentum if it really builds. But if you just get people going, hey, I don't like this.
You start to. Yeah, I'm not trying to disagree with what you're saying, but there's that world of if someone words a feature slightly differently and doesn't realize it's out there already, or upvotes one without realizing, and then there's 50 duplicates of the same thing, and there's no one grooming that backlog, and then there is a big body of people that want that thing, but they don't have it collectively speaking in one voice. That is, in some ways, what we do sometimes, is we are able to aggregate all that and speak from some level of authority, which is weird. We're actually just on the cusp of 50,000 subscribers, which is weird. That, like, I don't know, I could reminisce a lot, but it's strange feeling that sort of responsibility. Like, why the heck do I care so much about a stupid tool on a computer? I found myself thinking that, and I'm like, chill out. Like, I'm in there like, this needs to work this way, but I think
the thing that
horse in the race.
that I'm saying is that previously, Microsoft would tell you to go to user voice, and find a thing and upvote it and whatever. Their new tooling around submitting that feedback using that very specific thumbs up, thumbs down, etc. They have AI that's working on it. It does a pretty good job. They get a way more instrumentation, because when you do that, you can send, or it is sending, oh, this is what they were just clicking on. So to your point, when somebody's like, oh, I'm describing this feature that I want differently than someone else, they can work through that feature that different way, because they get a lot more context. So if you haven't done it, if that's not something you've done, I would encourage you to give it a try. I think it's, I have to remind myself to do it and not just get frustrated. Now I just get frustrated that I don't have thumbs up, thumbs downs buttons every place I want. Like, I think it was just this morning or yesterday, I was frustrated with something and there was not a thumbs down button where I wanted it to be. But
yeah, see, I have struggled sometimes when they're like, oh, make sure to use this thing, that I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go use that thing, because that's gonna be the difference maker. Outside of, like, if I'm having a very specific error, I'm like, yes, take all the instrumentation. But if it's like, oh, you didn't like that response from Copilot, make sure to thumb down. I'm like, they probably get 1 million of these every day. And what is this in that sea of
I think
things?
it's helped tremendously.
Good.
Yeah, my perspective on it is I think they respond to it. I think they see it.
It's good.
Yeah.
I value the access we've had to talk to a couple folks.
But they can't do that. They can't do that for everybody.
No. And like we only have this like little window into certain things, but even just that is so great to be able to make sure exactly what we're trying to say is being said.
Craig asked a question about.
They're just having another conversation while we're blabbering on about this stuff.
They're having a conversation about tags in SharePoint and how that's better. The use of, and then there was a conversation where Tanya and some others were asking some more detailed questions about it. There is a distinction in what we're talking about a little bit. What Craig is talking about is the fact that people on their desktop computers or in file shares are so used to, I want to make an update to this. I'm going to copy it, name it version 2, go edit it and do what I want. And then now I have 2 versions of the same thing. That is a very, 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 very common thing. There's lots of reasons for that, and it can be very a little bit confusing as to, like, it's not necessarily a simple issue, because he also mentions approvals, status, that kind of thing. Speaking just of versions, the benefit of keeping the same file and doing versions is exactly that, versions. You have the history, you have what changed, you know what's going on. You don't have 50 versions of the same thing and you don't know which one's which. In a more controlled world where I need to have a particular version and that version needs to be maintained for compliance reasons, etc., it gets more complicated. For the average person, Like it's there, you know, it's okay to, I would find it okay to have a last year's version of something and a this year's version of something. Like, for example, we have some forecasting spreadsheets and stuff that we use internally. We're about to get into the new year. I created a new version of it for next year, right? And that's a whole new file. But my reasoning for that is because I would need to be able to go back and look historically at what that is and have that point in time. And I need to actually be able to edit those two things separately because it's gonna overwrite. You know, I don't just keep adding to that and make this spreadsheet bigger and bigger. Each year is a self-contained thing for what we're doing, right? And in that case, I don't have a problem creating multiple files. That's not an issue at all. But that's not what most people.
I wish it was a different tab on the same one.
On the same one, yeah. So I've thought about that. I've considered that for that particular spreadsheet, but it's challenging, right? Like that's it's a unique case by case thing. I think a lot of people don't take advantage of real version history. So by default, document libraries always are producing major versions. You have the ability to do major and minor versions, right? And so you can do, you know, version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then in between, you know, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, and then publish a major version, and now you're at 6, right? That we use that all the time. We leverage that for, like, that is what is leveraged for publishing of pages. So it's the same functionality. So if you're publishing a page in SharePoint, you're already doing this. You can definitely bring that to the files that you're editing. Some of the challenges with it, you know, you don't have easy access to the previous version, right? If you need to be able to reference back to that particular version, it's a little bit more challenging. We also generally, you know, for a lot of those published things, we also have a pretty strict separation between collaboration space, where you do want all the versioning to be happening, and then the published or the communication aspect of it, which is like, okay, cool, we have a new version of this. Now I'm gonna export it to PDF, and I'm gonna upload that to the, you know, I'm gonna say public facing, but maybe external facing to the rest of the audience in the company, for example. That's the current, most recent version, as an example, right? There's not one answer, but the answer should never be make 5 versions of the file. That should never be the answer.
Terry asks if we have a video on major and minor versioning. I don't think so.
We have something because we talked about it. Matt Kahn created something that talks a little bit about it, but it's not in a lot of detail. No. There are a lot of videos about it. It's been around and in place for a very long time within SharePoint, but it's not something we have.
I'm just realizing these three are basically like having their own little side.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I should tell you, Craig, you're the only one, the odd one out. Tanya and Terry are both in our community. You guys can just pick it up there and continue the chat.
Oh, Mitch, leave it to you.
Jump in there. So, yeah, we'll see you in there. Nice plug. Mm-hmm. If I had Livy here, we would drop that link, but I don't want to get it right now.
If anybody's wondering why we don't have as much going on in the chat from our side and why I was like, oh, I'm going to start chatting, because Livy is not with us today. So it's just Cam, me, and Mitch. So.
And you missed my
loop comment.
I saw your loop comment.
What was the loop comment?
Would loop make things more like compartmentalized when the future is less known? Like they were talking about the CRM.
Yeah. I remember that part. What about loop?
Is it more portable, she's saying?
Not really. I mean, not in the way that we would create loop workspaces and loop things, because we would create a loop workspace related to a team, and so then you have a team, etc. If you create a generic loop workspace, maybe, because you can just that's completely separate. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting, the barrier, the momentum you need to be like, okay, I'm going to create a team, and then I'm going to create stuff in the team. I don't quite. I mean, I can understand it, but
she says it's underwhelming again. Oh, there, Cam got the link. You guys, it's right there. It's just one click away. Anyway, yeah, loop. In a perfect world, man, if I got real like Power Automate connectors that I could move things around and have templates and spin things up and have little inputs, and like I could build a business off of
the portability
that,
of the
but-
portability of Pages and both in Loop and in SharePoint is underwhelming, as
and in Copilot Pages.
which is basically
Yeah.
Loop.
They'll treat it like it's some
We've talked about them.
thing.
It's really interesting. We've talked to them extensively about that, and the deal breaker for them is they're like, well, we can't break the links, and I'm like, dude, like that's
Yeah,
the least of my worries.
Oh, Craig, he's subliminally messaging you to join the community. Don't do it if you don't want to. Have extra help every step of the way. I'm just joking.
Mitch is just kidding.
Yeah, I doesn't matter to me. Copilot will fix it. Yeah. I just realized we're over time. It's been fun hanging out with you all. Just commiserating about some things sometimes. Sometimes we don't have all of the magic wand to make it all perfect, but hopefully we can help put some bumpers up around what you're doing and offer some guidance.
So next time, if we have some open space, Copilot is what I was going to talk about, because I think there's a lot going on there and some interesting things, but that'll have to be for another time.
Coming soon to a podcast near you. Actually, our next podcast is about kind of that like infinite game of business sort of thing. So keep a lookout for that on January. We're not going to have one this month, much to Matt's demise, but next month.
I think that might be the first podcast that we miss.
It's an intentional, we're taking a breather. Craig says some folks are draw the conclusion that I must be waving a magic wand to make some of the stuff come together around here. Yep. That's what Matt does every day here at Bulb Digital. We are digressing into unhelpful conversations. So I'm going to head out. We got some meetings to get to.
Yep.
But it was tons of fun. We'll do this again the first Wednesday of January, assuming it doesn't conflict with the first or whatever.
doesn't.
But anyway, we'll see you back then. Feel free to reach out if you need anything, but it's been tons of fun hanging out. So thanks for your time. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.